You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Let's get spooky. This is our station, Boo, where we explore the dark and mysterious corners of the world of horror, and we know that you are dying to listen.
And welcome to the Spooky and Kooky podcast of Earth Station Boo, where we talk all things horror. Introducing our haunted host with the most, we've got Lisa.
Hello, groovy ghoulies.
We have Karen.
What's up, my horrorholics?
And I am Shannon. And we are also with our favorite little friend, Rebecca.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me back.
And we are going to be reviewing the book Horrorstör. Really cool book by Grady Hendrix. And let's get spooky.
Winter is coming. Prepare with a fine cigar and listen to the Cigar Nerds podcast. We smoke cigars and talk about movies and all kind of nerdy things. Available at cigarnerdpodcast.com. Also on the ESO Network at esonetwork.com.
Hey Horrorholics, it's Shannon. Earth Station Boo has just launched its brand new merch store. It's time to get your hands on some killer gear. From our fun logo shirts, cozy hoodies, Let's Get Spooky stickers, and Horrorholics Anonymous totes, there's something for every one of our lovely little ghouls. We offer our spooky designs on many different types of products to fit your desires. But if you happen to see a missed opportunity, just let us know. And unlike most of Stephen King's adaptations, you know what I'm talking about, you won't be disappointed with the quality of the products. Head over to our link tree in our bio, grab your merch, show off your favorite horror podcast, and most of all, let's get spooky. Alrighty. So, my lovely little hosts, our haunted hosts, we've all worked retail. There's a connection to this book. There were moments where I was like, oh, that's exactly what it's like. Oh, I know exactly what that's like. Triggering is definitely a word you can associate with this book when it comes to the retail portion. I feel like it's very evident somebody worked retail in the makings of this book. But what is everybody's initial thoughts on this? Lisa, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
I actually enjoyed it. It was a fast read, which was good for me. But there were, like you said, there were triggering points about the retail. And those introductions were just, I couldn't stop giggling every time I heard every introduction. I liked it, though. It was good. It was a good story.
Yeah. Karen, how about you?
I love this book. I read it in like 2 days. I couldn't put it down. I even stayed up to read. And I was like, I need to go to bed. I have to go to bed. I have to go to work. I recommend this book to anybody. Even if you haven't worked retail, read the book. It's just entertaining.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Rebecca, for you, what were your initial thoughts when you read this book?
Well, I've also worked retail for many, many years. Never in a situation like this, but I worked large department stores, bookstores, and yeah, it was slightly triggering. Some of the manager Basil, for example, I had a manager very similar to that, and it was a little creepy.
Same.
But I really overall I really enjoyed the book. I thought it was. I've read all of Grady Hendrix books, and this was probably, in my opinion, the creepiest so far of the books that he's written. Now I can't go into a big box store similar to ORSK now without thinking of what might have been on that side of that store and what might still be lurking in the walls.
Nope, completely with you on that. I never worked big box like that or super major like department stores. I worked, Express, Victoria's Secret. I worked like all like the little shops throughout the mall. But I had my time in retail and I had a manager like Basil. And I'm just like, not everybody wants to go on the same track as you. Find out where they want to go and then help them get there. Don't force them on the same track as you. But like I said, it's extremely, extremely triggering because there were so many things that were like nail on the head where I was just like, homeboy's worked retail. You know that he has worked retail because he had it all down right. It does make me wonder about the IKEA that's not too far from me, living in Florida and knowing that there's Indian burial grounds everywhere. It makes you go, I wonder. Even more so with the IKEA that's closest to me is actually not too far from Ybor, which anybody who knows the history of Ybor will completely understand why I'm like, oh, this could actually be a thing at my IKEA.
Wow. And are there like chickens running around?
Oh no, not inside, not inside.
No, I know anymore, but I've been there. But yeah, I keep thinking like there'd be chickens.
No, they run around. They do run around in the parking lot. Yeah, the iconic Ybor roosters and chickens. I've seen them in the parking lot. But they like to stay downtown, less traffic. Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that.
But overall, I do think it was a pretty decent book. It was fun to listen to. I wasn't able to get my copy of the book in time, but I was able to get the audiobook and I listened to that, which honestly was absolutely fun to listen to, especially with the furniture commercials at the beginning of every chapter.
Oh, now I'm going to have to listen to the audiobook because I've only read it, but I love looking at because they have all the ads, like the print ads in there. So I would love to actually hear the commercials.
The commercial, absolutely hilarious, and it's a different voice actor who does the commercial than who does the reading, and so it was it was fun listening to it, going, oh, okay. But it was fun. I actually really did enjoy it. Were there parts of it that probably weren't as like smooth flowing? Yeah, but I feel like that's the case for most pieces of work, that there has to be something wrong with it. But it's a book that I'm definitely planning on reading again because it was enjoyable. I think the setting for this book was kind of cool. It's not a normal setting that you get when it comes to a horror story or a horror anything. And I think that was kind of interesting. With that being said, what was your guys' take on the setting for this? Karen is like completely insane smiling right now.
I like IKEA, and sometimes I get afraid that I might get trapped somewhere in IKEA. So I enjoyed the setting, like, because sometimes you see those clothes hanging up in the wardrobe, and you're like, did people get trapped here and you just took their clothes? But yeah, if I was trapped in IKEA late at night, I'd be like, no, I'm gonna stay close to the exit door. Y'all go ahead. Nope.
So Rebecca, what are your thoughts on the setting of this tale?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think we've all read stories about, like ghost stories and, paranormal phenomena and people going in to, record it and there's always going to be the skeptic, but the people that are hardcore into it. But yeah, this is the first time that I've read anything where it's it takes place in it's IKEA. We'll just say it. It's IKEA.
So instead of saying
it's
IKEA.
ORSK. Right. But, for anyone that's looked at the book, there's even like an order form. It's with it, but enough has changed that, the author's not going to get sued. But yeah, this is the first time that I've read anything like that. And then as they delve a little bit more into like the history of so basically, this ORSK was built on, there used to be a prison there, and the warden was not the greatest person and did not treat the people very well. And so, cut to all these years later, all these weird things start happening in the store at night. They come in and, the people that work there come in the next day and they're like things broken and there's like weird, like weird ooze, on the furniture. And so they go in to, figure out what's going on and, hilarity ensues. It starts getting really weird and really creepy the more they start really delving into it, and bad things happen. And overall, I enjoyed it. At this point, I think I've read everything that this author has written, and I would put this towards the top of his books that I enjoyed. I thought his style is, he can be very funny one moment and then get super creepy the next, and then go right back to being really funny, which I enjoy.
Yeah, that's fair. Lisa, how about you? What are your thoughts on the setting?
I love the setting because everybody gets lost in an IKEA type of store, or you get, I'm the worst because I'm like outside squirrel, as we all say. And you see, oh, shiny, look, what is this new thing? So I think it's great because you get trapped in like that IKEA maze and there's all these distractions. So yeah, I would agree with Karen. If I was there late at night, I'd be close to the exit.
Good food.
What?
At least I'll get good food if I get trapped.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. The Swedish meatball.
Yeah, I don't get lost in these stores. I don't get disoriented. I just I don't know. Maybe because I've worked retail for so long, or the fact I have like a really crazy sense of direction. I I always know which way is north, which is that way. But it's one of these deals of like I don't know. I know how to get out. But I will say this, I do always love when I find like a hidey path where I'm like, oh, here's a shortcut. Yes, because I don't need to go in that department. And I book it through. Especially when you're there and you're just picking up certain things. Yeah, the setting itself, like I said, I feel like it's really unique. I think it's fun. I like how he had moments where he would describe it and he's like, oh yeah, you make a left through kitchen and you make, you go down and then you make a right. And you could tell that in his mind, he had a map of that store and it was a legit map. And I think he did a great job setting it up, because it wasn't just here we go. Here's how you walk into the store and this is what you see. He didn't really he didn't bore you with the details of the store, but he gave you enough detail as he was describing other things and as he was leading you through that you could still see and picture the store. And I thought that was great, where it wasn't too much, but it gave you the perfect ambiance of it all.
Yes. And for those, if you do have the book as well, you do actually get a map. So if you want to follow along, and see, where they're going, you can, also do that. But like you said, he does a good job of describing it without having to be, super literal about it.
I'm like I said, I listened to this book. I didn't actually get to read it. So the fact that like there is a map, and I could tell like he had a map just by the way he wrote the book, I think that speaks volumes that, it can be translated to the audio, even if you don't have the visual portion to it.
Yeah, and I'm sure he did a lot of research in, real big box stores.
I'm also wondering if he maybe, spent a couple of months working at IKEA or one of the others.
I don't think so, because I did listen to an interview with him where he was talking about, he talked about a lot of his books, but this one, I don't think he's actually ever worked at a store like this. I think he just did a lot of research and like, hey, what if, kind of that thing, like, hey, if I was going to work in IKEA, wouldn't it be funny if, it was actually haunted? Like over on an old prison, in an old prison site, and was haunted by the ghosts of these tortured prisoners. And
speaking of tortured prisoners, let's talk about the characters in the book. There's some actually pretty decent characters. They're kind of pretty fleshed out. Like you can picture each of these characters. Which character did you actually connect the most to? Rebecca?
Honestly, I think Amy, she's kind of our protagonist. And, unlike, maybe Basil and some of the other people that work there, like, this is just a job. This is not going to be a career. She's not super happy there, but it's a paycheck. She's just, doing what she needs to do and make some money to get out of, her mom's place and, to have somewhat of a life. And I can relate to that. I mean, that's kind of how I was for a long time. It was like, places that I worked at, like I said earlier, we all probably worked with a Basil that like, this is their life, this, and, what was her name? Was it Trinity, who was, the super peppy, like, I'm wearing all the flair, and I, everybody loves me. And she's like, the best, employee of the month every month. And Amy's just like, yeah, no, I don't need, I just give me my, I'll do my job. Just give me my job.
Right.
But at the same time, when things really start to go sideways, she steps up and she really, kind of puts herself out there and puts herself on the line to help, Carl and Ruth Ann and, Matt and, all her friends. Well, I mean, they didn't really start out to be friends, but, she does start to kind of care about them. And, even these characters who at first you're like, they're kind of annoying, you do get a little sense of like, oh, well, they have, their own stories and they're maybe not as terrible as you might have initially thought that they were.
Yeah.
They're a little more sympathetic, and except for the prison warden who possesses Carl.
And prison warden not on the good kid list.
Not on the sympathetic list. No. Yeah, exactly.
I think Amy is the one that I connect to most, especially in my later years of working retail. Early on, I might have been a Trinity. Definitely was more of an Amy. And I always loved the Ruth Anns. I loved them. They were the sweetest. And I would do anything for a Ruth Ann. If she asked, I'd be like, oh yeah, I got you. Basil, not so much. No. And then, you got Matt, who you're just like, why? Why are you even here? You're wasting our time. And Carl, the guy who sneaks into the store and tries to live inside the store at night. So,
I mean, if you're gonna, I think as I know as a kid, I always had this fantasy, like, it would be so cool to like go, live in the mall or something. But like, if you're gonna live somewhere, like a place like ORSK is, it's pretty not a bad place.
Exactly. It wouldn't be a bad spot because you got plenty of beds. There's a kitchen, bathroom.
You've got, the
Mm-hmm.
cafeteria, get some Swedish meatballs. I
Yeah.
mean, and lots of places to
yeah.
hide too.
Tons of places to hide. But yeah, I would say Amy's the most. It's easy for her because she is the protagonist to be the one you can easily like connect to, but I think all of the characters are fleshed out enough that you could easily connect to one of the other ones, and not just Amy. I know we all kind of like said like, oh, I definitely see myself as like as Amy, but why is it that we feel like we're connected to her?
We all like have lived paycheck to paycheck, and that's what she's doing. She's a young woman, dropped out of college, if I remember correctly, and she's just living paycheck to paycheck. Don't want to go back home to her parents, because what young person want to do that? But also, I see myself as Basil or whatever you want to call him. Yeah, because if you're British, you'll say Basil. If you're English, you'll say Basil. But I also see myself as Basil because of the fact I used to be a manager, and I want to bring the potential out of all those who are underneath me. But unlike Basil, I wasn't like, micromanaging.
Yeah. Or
So,
not even micromanaging, but forcing his agenda on them.
Yeah.
Or his dream onto them.
Yeah. So yeah, I understand where he's coming from because you want to make sure everyone has their potential,
Yeah.
Bring out that potential. I know you have it in you.
And that's the importance of having an actual conversation with an employee saying, okay, well, what do you want to get out of this? And what can I do to support you in reaching that goal?
Like-
sitting there going, you have potential. You could be an assistant manager like me. Just you need to apply yourself. Well, does she want to be an assistant manager like you? If she doesn't, then help her get to where she wants to go.
Help me, help you, help me. Oh,
yeah.
Help you, help me, help.
Yeah. Help me, help you to help. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's help each other.
Yes. Lisa, how about you?
I definitely connect with Amy, paycheck to paycheck. Doesn't want to go back home. Knows it's a dead end job, but you don't really have any other choice. Basil too, but
You can call him Basil if you want.
But like Karen said, I've been a manager, but I don't micromanage. But I can understand his system.
But which character would you say had the most tragic ending?
For me, it was Ruthie Ann. I cried. I was like,
Same.
I wanted to jump in the book and save her.
Same.
I was like, no, you don't kill her.
There's a part of me who wants a second book, like a sequel of them at, what is it, Baby Planet or Planet Baby or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're there and they're fighting off the beehive, and I want them to find Ruth Ann, and I want them to save her. I know that that's probably not going to happen, but that's what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't cry, but I was affected.
Yeah.
Very much
put the book down. I was like, like literally, I was just crying. You walk upstairs, like, why are you crying? I got to the sad part of the book. Shut up.
Because the gem of the store just died.
I mean, honestly, I think Carl, I just felt really bad for, I mean, because again, he was this homeless guy, living in the ORSK, trying to survive, and then, winds up getting, during the seance, winds up getting possessed by the warden, Worth, I believe. I need to pull up my notes, and then winds up, getting his, throat slit, and it's really sad, and I again, I'm blanking, but I think he just disappears inside of the ORSK or the beehive, and they never find him again, and he's still there.
Worth essentially got exorcised, and the beehive individuals realized that they could overtake him, and then they destroyed him. Yeah.
Yes, that is. Yes,
yeah.
That is.
So
yeah.
Poor little Carl, he didn't stand a chance. I mean, as soon as Worth slit his throat, he was done skis. His, I will say, is probably the saddest because he didn't have the opportunity to fight back.
Right.
But Lisa, what about her getting nabbed was like the knife in the heart.
I don't know how to describe it. I was just like, everything was just going so smoothly, and then I think it was the whole shock of it that really got me. It was the whole. I was not expecting that. I really wasn't.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
And I think that's why it affected me more, because it's like, no, not her. We all have our characters we cheer for.
Yeah. The characters that in your head are untouchables.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And the fact that she clawed out her own eyes, that
I know that was
and then she got dragged away by the scary things. I was like, no, let me be your knight in shining armor.
Right?
I know, right?
It's because we all have a Ruth Ann. We all have a Ruthie. Mm-hmm. And they're like our parent in the retail. They're like our parent, our grandparents. They're like the pillar that makes us happy.
Yep. Oh yeah. But I think Ruth Ann's was the one that I hated the most, because she just wanted to sit in the break room and just chill, do her little puzzles until it was time to go. Yeah. She didn't want any trouble. And, she was a good worker. Why did you have to bring her in and ended up having her get swallowed up? That always makes it sad.
Yes, yes, I agree. Hers was very sad, and not to skip too far ahead, but it's a testament, during her funeral, when
Amy and Basil,
the customers come in as well, and are like talking about how much they loved her. It's not just her friends and employees, but it's customers also were like, oh, she's so sweet and kind, and like little things that she did for them.
Exactly.
Yes, I thought that was very touching.
It was. There's a part of me that, because of how this book ended, there's like a part of me who's like, please don't let her have been actually ended. Let them be able to save her, possibly.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to the end yet, but
yeah.
Yes, that would be nice if they could somehow, like you said, somehow rescue her.
Out of all the characters, though, who did you think had the most progress? Who could have who developed the most out of all of these characters?
Basil, because he went from that, oh, this is not real, this supernatural is not real, and then he goes to that fear, And then he goes that protective mode because you're not messing with my people. These are my people. And so I like to see that, transition that he had, because you no longer see him as an enemy, you see him as an ally. So I believe he had the most character development.
Okay.
I think for me, reading, we talked about Basil being the smarmy, store manager, and like this is, his life. But then as the book goes on, you do learn a little bit more about him. He becomes a little more sympathetic. He's a sister that he has to take care of. He's, which is why he's so invested in this job. Like he has to, he has to be successful at this to make sure his sister is taken care of. And then, spoiler again, jumping to the end, when Amy goes back to what was ORSK to, and it's now, so again, I know we're skipping way ahead, but when ORSK is now another store and she decides to get a job there so she can go in and find out what happened to her friends and see if she can, get back in there. And who shows up, who's already there, but Basil, ready to help. And she's, obviously very surprised by that. But he's like, no, I can't let them, I can't let my friends
Exactly.
Just disappear into the store. We have to find out what happened to them and see if we can help them. Which I was like, oh, that's actually really cool. So for me, Basil definitely had the most surprising arc.
Yeah. Lisa?
Yeah, I agree. She said exactly what I had in my notes. Because he went from, I don't believe it, and then becoming someone much better than he used to be.
I actually think Amy had the most development as a character. I think, and the reason I think that is because I think Basil had that potential the entire time. And I think he had, at the end of the day, his heart was always in the same place of, I want to do what's right for my people. I want to help them. I want to save them. His character as like an actual person, not character as like a character in a book, but like the character of this character never changed, never progressed, never evolved into something new. It was the same thing. You just saw it in a different situation. I think for him, he situationally stepped up the way he's supposed to step up as a manager and as like this character that had like things that you learn more things, like the fact that he's taking care of his little sister. You didn't know that at the beginning, but you learned that halfway through. Is that development, or is that just you finding out another facet of that character just later on? To me, development is a character actually growing as an individual through the story. And I think Amy's the one who actually grew, because then at the end of the day, she actually gave a fuck. She did not give a fuck at the beginning. And
right.
I think that is a better development arc than us just learning new facets of us as a singular character, if that makes sense.
Well, I understand that, but the thing is, I knew going in that she was going to have, a development, because she's the protagonist. All protagonists is going to have like some sort of, development. But for me, because, he's a secondary character, because I'm looking at all secondary characters, I'm not worried about the protagonist because they're always going to have a story arc. They're always going to develop. But, as a secondary character, I saw him developing from being a manager to being a friend. Because sometimes you don't have managers as your friend.
Yeah.
And so at the end, he became like sort of kind of her friend because, spoiler, if you haven't read the book, he and her go back to find their friends.
Yeah. But I think that's her. I don't think that's him. I think that extension of friendship was always there on his side. But I think her accepting the friendship is the development and the difference. If you're talking secondary characters, I would actually say probably Trinity was the one who had the most change, because she went from like this flighty, like wishy-washy to somebody who was like, no, let's go, and like kind of wanted something more before she got nabbed.
Nabbed, yes.
I'm not saying that like Basil isn't like a great character. I think he is, but I think personally for me, he's one note. You just
And
get to
that's fair.
see you get just to see more depth of the note, but it's still just like a singular thing.
And that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, like I said, it's like just my personal take, but to each their own. Why do you guys think the ghost did not retaliate against the warden?
I think he had some kind of. Oh, sorry.
No.
He had something. See, that's the thing. I wanted more of the warden story. A little bit. I think he had something to hold over them, and that's probably why.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really get it in the book exactly what his power was, other than the beehive. I didn't feel like, maybe I missed that part or something, but it was just.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't really go in depth about a lot of the stuff. My thought was that it was basically the power and authority he had in life, he was ruling over them in death.
Yeah.
And it was very much like a Bug's Life situation of,
right,
he's the grasshopper. Individually, yeah, he could like do whatever, but if they all came together.
Right.
Yeah.
Thing about it, I was like, you're 1,000 souls against one.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Blink, 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 blink.
Yeah.
See, if my soul was free, I'm like, you know what? We're free. We're free of this man. What? You came with us? No. Mm-mm.
No.
We're gonna have to take care of you.
Yeah. Like,
Rip you
what kind
apart.
of experiments was he doing that it would trap the souls there?
See,
Probably
that's what I
something with
wanted more.
electric. Yeah, exactly. It had to be something electrical or something.
Even beyond that, like to break a soul to the point where it has to haunt a specific space and cannot move forward, cannot move on.
Maybe some kind of illusion.
Then to then be like ruled by the same evil piece of shit that tormented them in life.
Yep.
No mention of magic, supernatural, anything.
I
And I'm
know.
like,
yeah, I was waiting for some 13 ghost stuff to come up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where's your little machine? No.
if he was making a ghost factory, yes, I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Rebecca?
Again, this is something that you see in other stories like The Shining. And I wonder if it's because they needed a specific person to, like, not necessarily a conduit, like in The Shining, for example, but someone to sort of bridge the, between the undead and, the living and the undead. And it wasn't until, Amy and Basil and the group sort of, started delving deeper and, discovered the beehive and the ghosts that they finally realized that, we've were prisoners and we were tortured by this guy, but we could actually fight back now. And, it doesn't have to be, we don't have to be, still stuck in that tortured.
Yeah.
We don't have to be the victims anymore.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with you. I think they needed a catalyst to push them or show them that they didn't have to keep the status quo. They didn't need to keep doing what they did in life in death. And I do think, especially with when you look at like ghost lore and things like that, or poltergeists and stuff, there usually is a spirit or something like that that seems to have more power than others. And it seems to be that like controlling force when it comes to like different haunted places. The warden was just that. He was just that. He was the most powerful to control everybody. Didn't mean that they couldn't overpower him if they banded together. Kind of like the ant and grasshopper situation in A Bug's Life. But it very much,
Right.
it very much was a, wait a second. These living beings, they're right. We don't have to listen to him anymore. And then it's all
Right.
chaos then ensues because now they're like, I'm free. It's like when, you release a toddler onto like a playground and like terror just happens.
Right. Or maybe they did have that power all along, but if you're told long enough, that you don't, you're going to believe it until someone says, oh no, actually you do. You don't have to listen to this person. And then you realize, and then you can kind of free yourself from that.
And it's psychological. Definitely in that.
And even ghosts can, be stuck in that spot.
Yeah, I mean, you still have your thought processes that you have from life.
Right.
Alrighty. So, what do you think could have been executed better in the book? Like, what do you think was like, like, it's all good, but this could have been just a little better?
Honestly, I mean, it's not that it was like badly written or anything like that, but I kind of wanted to know a little bit more about like the history of the prison and, the warden and kind of all of that. I mean, they do delve, somewhat into it, but I'm kind of like, I kind of want more on that. Like, I'm kind of curious, like in the, experiments and stuff like that he, that he did to try to like, cure mental illness, I guess, even though, he's like, and this is, if you read anything about like the history of mental hospitals, even, it's like the psychiatric hospitals, they were trying to cure mental illness, but they just wound up making people even worse than they, when they came in. So yeah, I would have liked to have, I would have liked to have him to gone in a little bit more on that.
Yeah, no, same. I think there were like a few moments that were a little slow for me. Like when it came to like listening, I started to like drift off because I wasn't engaged enough. The story kind of lulled a little bit. And I know that like a story can't be like bam, 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 bam. There has to be some lulls so that way when you get the exciting parts, they're exciting. But there were a few parts that I think slowed a little too much. For me at least. But the history of the prison, that would have been really great. Or even going a little bit more in depth on like the ending where they're maybe actually starting to get in touch with the beehive. Like to let you know that they've jumped back into it other than, so you're planning on staying the night? Like let them actually have like an interaction with the beehive. Like that would have been kind of cool to know that they actually did get back into it and it just wasn't them staying the night to stay the night,
Yeah, but I honestly kind of liked that. It was a very like sort of
Mhm.
cliffhangery ending, like,
So
you know, where you
cliffhanger.
have Amy and Basil going and like, okay, we're going to rescue our friends and, you know, we're going to find out what happened to
Yeah.
them and, you know, spend the night in the, what was it?
Yeah.
Baby World is the new
So
store.
Baby RS on steroids.
For me, the whole story of the prison and Warden Worth could have been done a little bit better because of the fact that it seemed kind of like thrown in there almost.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Agreed.
And, you know, the beehive could have been, you know, better explained.
Yeah.
And you could have gotten a little bit more scary with, like, you know, the happenings
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
of what was happening. Like, yeah, I agree. This ghost hunting was just dragged on
It was
so long.
unnecessary.
Exactly.
It was like, you could have mentioned it, like, you know, a few times, but give me some
Mm-hmm.
more of that story of the warden. Give me some more of the beehive. Give me some more of that.
Yeah.
I agree. I would have liked to hear more about how it developed and everything, the beehive, and more of the history and what went wrong a little bit more. Yeah, I agree. The ghost hunting was kind of dragging a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because it
Anything else?
And I,
would have made sense if like that ground that they were on was a little bit was Native American, you know,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
burial ground, and that's why
Yeah,
everything was happening in that one spot.
or there was a graveyard underneath it, something.
Yeah. Or like at least like maybe have like the the basement warehouse for the shop is where it's like the actual basement of like the prison.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like
Mhm.
have it like there be like more like a physical like just being built upon the prison kind of was like,
Yeah,
okay, but like I don't know. It was just not enough. Like I needed more. Was there anything else you guys thought could have been done a little bit better?
Some of the ghosts entity interactions could have been done better.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
I was like, even though I enjoyed the stories, I was kind of left wanting more.
Yes.
same.
Same. Lisa, how about you?
I agree 100%. I think the beehive story should have been better. Less ghost hunting. Some of the ghost interactions could have been scarier
Mhm.
or made you, I don't know, didn't really give me the chills, but I don't know if that's because I don't scare easily or I don't know. It didn't have that feel that I kind of wanted to have. It's like, yeah, that's it.
Okay. Was there anything else?
Well, you know, I'm going to see him next month at a book signing for his new book. I will ask him if there's going to be a follow up or, you know, Plant
Yes,
Baby.
please let us know. But before we end, here is a question for you. What is your favorite part of this book? What is like that one part that you're like, this is what made it the book that I love?
Basil trying to sacrifice himself to save Amy.
Hmm.
Like he got taken instead of her, and then you know he gets out of this situation and goes and rescues her from her torture device because she was
Mm-hmm.
about to give up on her life, and I was like, no,
No.
fight back. I
Right?
know you're living paycheck to paycheck. You don't want to live back home with your parents, but at this point, you need to fight back. Okay,
Exactly.
you are a warrior woman. Blink, blink,
Mm-hmm.
blink, 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 blink.
Wait. Yeah, I agree 100% with you. Yeah, it's like, yeah, why are you giving up? I did like the fact that he went after her and tried to sacrifice himself, was sacrificing himself to save her. And just the way it turned around, just the whole pentameter of it, the rhythm of it, it kept you
Mm-hmm.
going. And you're like, oh, yeah, now this is happening. And oh, yeah, that's
Yeah, it picked up pace.
it picked up the game. It was a great pacing, and that's what kept going. And it made it wasn't really slow. It was just like you're like, on the edge of your seat. Okay, now what's going to happen? Okay, yeah, save yourself. Yeah, do the,
Yeah, I was screaming at the books like, "What are you doing? Don't you give up!"
I didn't scream at the book, but I'm like, you've got to be kidding.
Yeah.
Right? And also have to say, like, my favorite scene was the seance scene. But I was like, why are y'all handcuffing each other to each other? No. Like,
No,
what's
do
going on?
not
What you doing?
handcuff yourself to the seance.
Like, what type of bullshit is this? No, I will hold your hand.
Hands,
I
but
ain't
not
handcuffing
handcuff
you.
you. You're,
Uh-uh.
yeah,
Because I don't know what you're gonna what's gonna happen to those keys. Because
exactly.
if I'm running,
Exactly.
I don't
You're
want
coming
dead
with
keys
me.
dragging me down.
Well, and it was one of these deals of like, I understand like somebody was like, oh, we can't let go. We have to stay connected in order for it to work. But then at the same time, I'm like, at some point, you need to let go because it is working. And it's not
Exactly.
working the way it
No.
should. Like,
Like we summoned a demon. Nope.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the seance, I thought was the way that he describes the seance and what happens to
Yeah.
Ruthann. Um, and or no, it was a Trinity. Was it Trinity that? Yes, sorry, it was Trinity. And like her kind of transformation, to me, that was legitimately creepy. And I don't get creeped out when I'm reading things very often. I think the last time that happened was when I read The Mist by Stephen King. I got like so creeped out. I'm like, I have to put it down. But that part, I was like, oh, because it, like you said, there are parts. It was like, oh, it's a little slow. It's like, I don't know what's happening with this. Like, oh, what are we gonna find? And then when that happens, and she sort of starts to change, and I'm like, oh, this is starting to get creepy. Like this is getting good.
Yeah.
I'm ready to follow this journey and see what happens.
Yeah. I'm gonna say the whole like ending portion where like they were in the thick of it, where they were like all fighting for their lives. It was where it was kind of like bam, 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 bam action kind of portion there, like the second half of the book essentially. When I was listening to this, I was actually trying to do some chores around the house while I was listening, and I noticed I actually stopped doing what I was doing and just was standing there listening. So to have me like completely like 100% focused on what I'm listening to, it was good.
Yes. And, I did read when I was doing some research for this podcast, I did read that at one point, not long after the book was published in 2014, it was optioned to possibly be a TV show. And with one of the executive producers was Joss Whedon, apparently. And I thought, oh, this would have made an interesting TV show, or like at least like a mini series or something. I think it could have been really interesting.
Film rights, it got purchased in 2020. So, I think it was New Republic Pictures. So, it's still a possibility of it getting made. It just wouldn't be a show. It would be a book, which I'm kind of, or a movie, I should say. And I think I'd be okay with it being a movie. I think a show is too short unless it's like a mini series or kind of like Mike Flanagan's the Haunting of Hill House, where it's like a one shot.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something like that would be great. Like if you could get Mike Flanagan to do this story, oh my God. And do like 8 or 9 episodes or something would be perfect. Yeah, something like that. Like it doesn't need to be like seasons or anything, because then it's probably not going to do. But something like that, like a short, or a long miniseries or a short season of a show would be great.
Yeah, like a longer miniseries.
Limited series. I think is what it's called. Limited series.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that, but I think because of especially the pace of like the second half of the book, I think it would make just a fine film. You know, it could be a little bit more than 90 minutes, but I think it would be a good film. I think it would have like all the things you kind of need, especially if you had the right director behind it.
Yeah, agreed.
Now I'm like sitting here going, who would I cast in it?
Yeah.
Other than wanting to have Mike Flanagan direct it, because I think we talked about this when we did our Haunting of Hill House episode. Give Mike Flanagan book adaptations. He knows how to do it. He's respectful to the work, but it's still a killer series or movie or whatever.
Yes, and I'm trying. I've got to look up his name, but I was thinking an actor that might be a good Basil would be. I think his name was David Johnson. He was in Alien Romulus.
Yeah.
He was in Alien Romulus. I think he might be a good Basil. Yeah, I don't know who I would cast, and I don't know who I would cast for Amy.
Actually, the chick who was in The Haunting of Hill House,
was it? It wasn't Kate Siegel.
No, Kate Siegel's his wife. I
know she was in it, but I can't remember.
She played the one who had the touch thing.
Yes. Now you want me to? I need to go back and rewatch.
It's a great series.
Haunting of Hill. Oh, it's so good. Fall of the House of Usher is also incredible.
Victoria Pedretti.
Okay. Oh, yep. I know who you're talking about.
I think she would do great as Amy. She's about like that age, and I could see her totally doing that. Can't think of anybody for Trinity by name, unfortunately. Matt, I mean, there's a slew of people you could choose to play Matt.
Yeah, and again, if it's Mike Flanagan, he's got such a great repertoire of actors.
I mean,
to choose from.
Names are just escaping me right now, and I hate that. Raul Colli, who was in iZombie, he would make actually a great Matt.
Oh yeah,
he could pull that off.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that.
And you know how, like, if Mike is doing this, he has his list of people he likes using. I think Katie wouldn't quite fit in here anywhere. Maybe be somebody else. Because to me, I'm thinking like Ruth Ann needs to be somebody on the older side. But no, it'd be neat to see who ends up playing it.
Because this is such a short book, I would see as a movie. I mean, you could get a lot in like 2 hours and something minutes.
True.
But it all could be a series, depending on how you write it.
I would want it as a series, and having the Beehive Warden situation expanded. Yeah. Especially if Mike Flanagan's doing it, you could see like a whole episode just being on the history of like the warden in the prison and all that.
Exactly.
Playing Amy. Mm-hmm. The girl who played Jessica in Thanksgiving, Nell.
Okay, yeah.
I could see her as Amy. For Basil, if you haven't seen Ted Lasso, this young British actor, he played Sammy. Tohib Jamal, I think that's his name. Basil.
Okay.
In my opinion. For Ruthie, I was thinking of Jennifer Coolidge.
Oh, that'd be cool.
because she has that vibe of being, I love her in whatever she does. And especially in Legally Blonde, I'm like, oh, don't die.
I love her in Two Broke Girls.
No,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So I can see her as somebody like, in that work environment being that pillar of support. And it's just chef
Mm-hmm.
kiss. Chef's kiss. Um for Trinity, I call her Trixie. For Trinity, the girl who played Sabrina in the new
Okay.
Sabrina series. Karen Shipka.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And for me, Matt, I mean, this might be a little bit controversial, but Javier Harvey Guillen, he was in What We Do in the Shadows as
Mhm.
Oh,
Guillermo.
little
Yeah.
Guillermo. Oh, I love Guillermo. He's such a cute little nugget.
I know. And I want Matt to be a cute little nugget. So I was like, yeah, I can see that.
I can see that.
Trying to
It,
impress the girl.
yeah. It doesn't
Yeah.
it doesn't quite match up to the physical description in the book, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I was like, oh, he's a cute little nugget.
Yeah, no, that's a good choice. Good choice. Lisa, how about you?
Well, I definitely want to see it as a little mini series type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
like a one. I think
Yeah.
Mike Flanagan does really well with those. So, and like you said, there would probably be like a whole section about the beehive and the warden,
Mm-hmm.
which we kind of all want anyway.
Exactly.
So, like for Amy, I would want the girl who played Sabrina, that I cannot pronounce her name.
Oh, okay.
I think she'd do a really good job.
I can see that.
And then, and then for Trinity, because she's such an airhead. I'm sorry, I know you don't like her, but Emma Roberts, she
Oh,
would be a
yeah.
great Trinity. She would be a great Trinity. I know you don't like Emma Roberts, but I kind of
No.
have a fondness for her. Matt, I could see Evan Peters doing it.
I think he's now too old for it,
Maybe he is, yeah.
but he could do Basil
Yeah, he could definitely do Basil.
or or even the like actual store manager who
Hmm.
like only shows up at like the very end. What was it, Joe?
Joe, I think.
I think his last name was like Van Coot, Mr. Van Coot or something.
Something
Yeah,
like
something
that,
like
yeah. Like he could show up. Although, could he do the warden or Carl?
he could do Carl, maybe.
When I was thinking about the warden, I was torn between Billy Bob Thornton or Kim Coates.
Oh,
Um,
good
he's in,
choices.
huh?
I said good choices.
Yeah, I was thinking about those two. Because they both played bad guys, before. So I could
Mhm.
see, more Kim Coates,
Mhm.
as the warden. Um,
In my head, the warden was like um the pilgrim guy in the TV show Wednesday.
Hmm.
Like in my head, like I don't know why when I read the warden, like that is what I pieced together for like my mental vision of the story.
For me, the warden, I would pick Bill Moseley. He,
Okay.
I know he plays a lot of, but he actually is a really good actor as far as diabolical and
Yeah.
evil. He does a good job, and I think he'd do a great job.
Yeah.
he was in Dawn of the Dead. He was that
Hmm.
jackass that you're like, thank God he died.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Who would you guys pick for Carl? Bill Hader might be funny in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I feel like it has to be somebody who can be goofy. Like, you kind of almost need like a little bit of comedic relief.
Mm-hmm.
When he dresses like, you know, casual, he kind of sort of looks like he's homeless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anybody else you guys can think of?
God, what his name is.
Timothy Oliphant. He played the husband in the Santa Clara Diet.
Yes.
He was also in Justified.
Yeah.
Um,
I could see him as either Carl or the warden.
True.
He could pull off both.
no, you know who I could see as the warden? Walton Goggins.
I mean, with a name like Walton.
True.
And he has that swagger.
Yeah.
Yep.
I could see that. I could see that. And then, you know, wasn't there another character there, like Pastor? Wasn't there a pastor? Or was I wrong?
I don't remember there being
I don't
a
remember.
pastor.
Neither do I.
Story.
I think you're thinking of a different story. Yeah, because there was just there was Basil, Amy, Matt and Trinity, Ruth Ann, Carl, who
Mm-hmm.
was hiding in, and then you had the warden, and then you had his beehive.
Mm-hmm.
Now the beehive is where I feel like you could have like so many fun actors hanging out in there doing stuff.
Yep.
Like, you could get maybe some of the Wilson brothers in there. You could Kate Siegel. She could be one of
Oh
the
yeah. She
one
could.
of those souls. Um, so with all that being said, let's go ahead and do our final thoughts and ratings. So Rebecca, what are your final thoughts? And how many skulls would you give this bad boy?
Ooh, out of how many skulls?
5.
Out of 5, or okay. I really enjoyed this book. As I said earlier, I'm kind of late in the game with discovering Grady Hendrix. I only discovered him maybe 3 or 4 years ago with a book that he did called Paperbacks from Hell, which is a great collection of like horror paperback covers, especially stuff from like the 70s and 80s. And then I've wound up reading pretty much everything that he's done. So this is definitely up there with as far as my favorite books, at least so far. It's definitely very, especially, you know, it starts off a little slow, but it definitely gets creepy. And if you like a good creepy story, I would highly recommend it. And you don't have to have worked retail to get it. But if you have, there are going to be a few things that really do hit home for you.
Yes.
So I would probably give this 3.5 out of 5 skulls.
Rock on. Rock on. Lisa, how about you?
I love the book. It was fun. There were a few explanations that could have been, and a few things that could have been a little bit better. But it was definitely a fast read and it was a fun read. So I give it like a 3.25 skulls.
Okay, that's fair. Karen, how about you?
I enjoyed the book. I read it in like 2 days. Couldn't put it down, but there were some aspects I would have changed, like the warden story and the beehive. I wanted that to be longer. I wanted more interactions with the ghost. Cut down like the ghost hunting aspect. Give me. I know it's supposed to be a comedy horror, but give me a little bit more horror to balance out the comedy
Yeah.
aspect of it. So I give it a 3.5.
Okay. I would give this a 4. I think it was pretty well written, absolutely hilarious. I did listen to this. I didn't get it as a physical copy. So it was very enjoyable to listen to. Uh, like the little commercials between the chapters was hilarious. I do think the pacing was a little slow in the middle. So like when you had a lot of the ghost hunting stuff and when there was that like almost like needlessly long lecture that Basil was constantly giving Amy about her potential and everything. It kind of droned a little too much for me personally. Especially then when you did get all to like the good meaty stuff and it was just bam, 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 and done. And I'm just like, that's it. You know, like that is why it's not a 5, is because there's just the pacing was just a little off for me. I needed a little bit more. But overall, it is an extremely enjoyable book. I can't be mad at it at all. So, listeners, would you shop in a big box store like ORSK or IKEA? And how would you feel if you found out it was haunted? Tell us in the comment section. You can tell us on all of our social medias. We are on all the different things. We are on Instagram, TikTok, X, Threads. We are also on Blue Sky, and we are on Lemon 8. But check out our Facebook group. That place is always bopping. We love chit-chatting with you all in there. We're posting all sorts of fun stuff that are happening. You can also like and subscribe us to where you listen to podcasts such as Apple, Google, and Spotify. And we see our Spotify Wrapped, so we know what all you guys were up to. And make sure you check out our YouTube. Leave us some comments. Share the video. We would love to chit-chat. But, Rebecca, where can they find you?
I am on the Facebook and on the Instagram under Monster Kid ATL. I am not on X or any of the other social medias just because I'm too lazy.
It's a lot of work. I don't blame you.
It is. It is. Even Facebook for me is like, oh, that's so much. But I'm there.
Mm-hmm. Lisa?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Lemonade, YouTube, Threads. Pretty much that. Oh, yeah, and my blogger on blogspot.com.
Rock on, rock on. Karen, where can they find you?
Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X formerly known as Twitter,